Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at StarCityGames.com Season 1 Invitational in Columbus. I'm Nick Miller alongside our #1 points leader right now, Jeff Hoogland. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Nick.
All right, we talked to you last week, of course, at Baltimore, because we want to know what you're doing in Standard, and now, you're trying to lock up a spot to the Players' Championship this weekend, and you're playing something much different than what you played last week. So you're playing a Mardu Control deck. First question, why the change to this? I know you were kind of toying around with some build-around cards when the set came out, Shadows over Innistrad. And today you have Nahiri the Harbinger in your deck, so probably a little bit towards that.
Yeah, so she was the card that I really wanted to play this weekend. I think being able to remove enchantments in your main deck is very powerful between Always Watching and these random like Cryptolith, Rights decks, and Todd's blue-red deck is bringing enchantments out of the board. Like just being able to interact with those cards is very, very powerful.
Okay, so you're choosing to go a much more controlling strategy than what you did last week. Did the results from last week kind of warrant that?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be playing several main deck sweepers, which I am, a split between Languish and Radiant Flames here, and I really wanted to be playing Fiery Impulse today. Yeah.
That's a card we didn't see almost at all last week in Baltimore. The Humans deck just ran over everyone. You have a bunch of copies of Fiery Impulse this week. Yeah,
so I think one of the ways you need to attack these really aggressive decks is that in addition to sweepers, you also need to be able to remove them up the curve. Counting on leaning on just your Languish or just your Radiant Flames is a good way to get just savaged by collected companies in the long run. So being able to keep your life total buffered while you do that is important. Cards like Fiery Impulse allow you to do that.
Right. You also have Declaration of Stone, Ultimate Price, your sweepers of Radiant Flames and Languish. And you have your card draw, which we expect. You're always playing Read the Bones, so that's no surprise.
I love that card, and we have a 3-color deck here, but Read the Bones is better than Painful Truths for 2 reasons. First is that we have Pain Land, so often if you want to draw through with it, you're going to have to pay 4 life, which is a very steep price, and Goblin Dark Dwellers can flashback Read the Bones.
Right. Not to mention you're taking life from Anguished Unmaking as well, so you have a lot of life flying around in this deck.
Correct, yeah, and you have a very finite amount of ways to gain life. Basically, you're on Kalitas and Shambling Vent as your primary ways to gain life, which don't gain a ton of life.
Right. Sorin can come in a pinch and get you a little bit of life, but you got the whole Planeswalker package here. Chandra, Sorin, and Nahiri. These look to be your big finishers here, along with Kalitas and the new Linvala. Talk about Linvala and Kalitas here. We saw that Kalitas run all over the place last Standard. Due to Rally being everywhere.
So Kalitas is just a very good turn 5 play in your Fiery Impulse deck because you play Kalitas and kill something right away, making a zombie, meaning even if they Reflector made you or Bounding Crazy, you still got some value out of it, essentially, right off the bat. It also, like I said, allows us to buffer our life total. The 1 copy of Linvala is another card that allows us to gain life, but that's also very good to tutor with Nahiri's -8. It can come in, gain 5 life, and then gain you another 5 life the following turn after it bounces to your hand.
That was one thing, we've already had Nahiri on camera a couple of times the last 2 weekends. Not a super heavily played card, but a lot of loyalty.
Yeah, this card's very subtly powerful, I would say. The fact that she goes to 6 right away is huge in a format where there aren't a lot of Ruinous Paths and Anguish Unmakings. People are beating Planeswalkers by attacking them, so playing this card and going to 6 means it's often getting to untap with it.
Goblin Dark Dweller is just a great utility card. You got some discard but with Transgress the Mind. And then, of course, the last card draw, some Tormenting Voice. Yeah,
Tormenting Voice is a nice card to kind of not only smooth out your draws in this deck, but it also, along with Nahiri, allows us to not be punished for playing 27 lands. So we want to hit lands 4, 5, and 6 consistently, but we generally don't want to draw too many past that. So Tormenting Voice and Nahiri allow us to have some selection there.
Okay, so you knew Humans was going to be a big thing, and Collected Company. What else did you see from the metagame last week going forward that made you want to play this deck, and where you see the format going?
Playing this deck was basically putting my eggs into the I want to play against the white creature decks basket. The Red Eldrazi matchup, it was a little bit difficult in my testing, but that deck wasn't very prevalent last weekend. It got mostly pushed out by the white aggressive decks, and ramp is also fairly difficult for a strategy like this.
Right, but we saw very little ramp last week. A deck that Todd talked about. He had geared his deck to have game against that, took most of it out this week. A lot of people are kind of saying, ramp can't deal with these Humans deck. We can kind of start moving forward with what we want to do.
So we're not just dead to ramp, though. Moving into the sideboard, we have 4 copies of Sin Prodder, which is another card from the new set. And this card's gotten a lot of slack because people are like, well, it's not Dark Confidant. Well, that sets the bar really high.
Nothing is Dark Confidant.
Nothing is Dark Confidant, right. So what this card allows you to do is it allows you to actually pressure your opponents. I actually beat Red Eldrazi, which is a difficult matchup in the first round today because I brought in Sin Prodder and then his Gold Knight Castigator that he brought in were just miserable. Sim Prouder doesn't allow you to draw lands with this trigger, but in all honesty, unless you're looking for that 5th or 6th land, not having to draw a land for your turn is upside a lot of the time.
Yeah, I can see how that could be very beneficial. And a lot of decks just not having a ton of ways to remove this card.
Yeah, and especially post board against a deck like this, they're trimming the removal because we don't have a lot of targets for it game 1.
Roast and Rending Volley is the next card I want to talk about. Everyone is moving to a bunch of copies of this card in their sideboard. Deals with humans, deals with Archangel Avacyn.
Deals with Dragon Lord Ojutai. There
Also
was
that.
a copy of Esper Dragon in the top 16 last week, and I think that'll be a reasonably popular deck. It also kills a lot of the creature lands that are in the format. Shambling Vents, Wandering Fumarole, etc.
Got more Planeswalkers in Ob Nixilis and the Dark Petition package. I was thinking of Grim Tutor.
Yeah, so we don't
bit of that.
We don't really have quite a Dark Petition package in this deck. Like, I'm not playing Virulent Plague because it turns off our Chandra's +1. So Dark Petition is kind of the second Sorin or the second Ob Nixilis, depending on which one you don't currently have in play. I can also grab something like a Ruinous Path in a pinch, but generally it's just like another Planeswalker slot without being another copy of a Planeswalker.
All right. Well, you're at the top of the standings here, trying to lock up Players Championship invite.
Yep.
How do you feel? You got Standard and Modern, the two formats you enjoy to play the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm pretty comfortable with to say that I'm going to get one of the top 3 slots. It is not unreasonable for someone to jump me for the first place slot should I not have a strong finish this weekend. So 1-1 so far. So hopefully we'll put up a good one.
All right. Well, the deck looks cool. It is much different than what you played last week. Clearly influenced by the metagame. We wish you the best of luck. Jeff, stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Columbus.